When you go to Japan to ride coasters, you look at the rides on your list and notice how weird they are. Then you come across Bandit at Yomiuriland and you're thinking, okay, what's even the deal with this thing? It's from the Japanese manufacturer Togo, so right off the bat it's got my attention. It's a hyper, but not really. Built on a hill and has 256 feet of elevation change, and it opened in 1988, before Magnum XL 200, so this monster coaster in Japan is kinda sorta the first hypercoaster. Right away, you make sure that Yomiuriland is on your trip list so you can get a ride. And when you get off, you're not even sure what to make of it. You're just laughing at all the tricks this plays on you. I got 2 rides, and today I'm going to talk about what this ride did to me. This is my review of Bandit, the world's most hilarious coaster. Yomiuriland is right outside of Tokyo, and when you drive up to the park, you notice right away, this place is built on a hill. There's nothing flat about this park. You can even take a sky ride to get into the park, lifting you up to the top. No matter where you are, you can't miss Bandit rising above everything else, and once you enter the park, all you have to do is walk down the stairs, and Bandit is the first ride you run into. Once you get to the entrance, there are 2 separate lines, one for the wet side and one for the dry side. I'll be honest, I didn't see where the separation happened and nobody was in the dry side line, so I ended up on the wet side on both my rides. The way this works is they run 2 trains and they alternate the lines. Me, being a cat, probably would have picked the dry side had I known what was going on, but I think the water effects add to the ride's character, so I'm glad I got to do it. Also, you don't get that wet, and in those hot Japanese summers, it's actually kinda refreshing. Once you get to the station, you're met by a ride-off and they give you a row. There's a sign that even says you cannot choose your seat. So, no big surprise, a coaster in Japan where there's assigned seating. That kinda stinks. For a hypercoaster like this, you'd hope you can get the front row and the back row, but you take what you can get, and I ended up with row 3 and row 6. This train having 14 rows, so I never ended up anywhere near the back. I did see someone try to sneak in the back, but the ops made them go to their assigned row, and this ride more than any enforces that because of their locker policy. After you're assigned a row, you have to use a locker, and that locker corresponds with your row. It is a physical locker. It's double-sided, so you get your stuff out on the backside after you ride, and you take your key and wrap it around your wrist, and the ride-ops can see what number is on that key, and that's how they can tell if you're sitting in the right row. They load from front to back, so if there aren't 14 groups of 2, the back will be left empty, and that's a shame. I saw a lot of that in the afternoon. You sit down on your Togo train and notice it has over-the-shoulder restraints. Wait, I thought this coaster didn't have any inversions. Hold on, let me check. Yep, no inversions. Why this has over-the-shoulder restraints, I have no idea. You also notice there is no legroom in these trains, so try and make yourself comfortable. It's a Togo train from the 80s. If you were comfortable, that'd be kinda weird. So, not off to a great start. Assigned seating, bad trains. Then you turn out of the station and get nailed by your first set of water cannons. Again, this only happens when you're on the wet side, and before you even head up that 167-foot lift, you might be soaking wet. Your row and the direction of the wind will determine how soaked you get. Personally, I got nailed in row 3, but barely got sprayed in row 6. Even if you're next to the ride filming, like I was in this clip, watch out because you will get nailed even if you're not on the ride. Bandit does not discriminate. You go up the lift, level out, and head down that 45-degree drop. Yeah, 45 degrees, so you can forget about airtime. I know, I rode in the front and the middle, but even in the back, I can't imagine this drop throws you out of your seat. But honestly, airtime isn't really on your mind when you're heading down. As you start dropping, you see a giant water cannon go off at the bottom, and you're mesmerized by watching all that water shoot up and float in the air. And then you realize this was designed to nail you right as you hit the bottom, and it absolutely does. At that speed, it kinda hurts when it hits you, so maybe close your eyes so it doesn't blind you. Once again, in row 3, I got whacked. In row 6, not so much. It then rises up and goes into an elevated U-turn to the left, but it tears into this, so it's not really a dead moment of the ride, and then slams into an intense upward helix. And it doesn't seem like it loses any speed as it rips into it. The entrance into this helix also has a weird transition, and get used to that, there's plenty of that on Bandit. And even as you wind up, you have these weird unrefined jolts, but that's 80s Togo and you just have to roll with it. You rise into a fast right turn. This also has some interesting profiling, and at that speed, you feel every bit of it. And down another shallow drop into your first good airtime moment. And you'd think maybe with your over-the-shoulder restraint, it would kill it, but that's not the case. These aren't very restricting. In row 3 and row 6, I still flew out of my seat. At this point, you're far off the beaten path, out into the trees, and you run into another bizarrely shaped right turn. And suddenly, seemingly impossibly, you're diving down even further, and this is where the elevation change comes into play. You keep picking up speed on this ride because of that terrain, so I wouldn't be surprised if at this point you hit the ride's top speed of 68 miles an hour. You then rise out of that ravine into a shallow incline, and you're not sure what's at the top of that hill until it's on top of you. It's not an airtime hill, it's a jerky transition to a right turn. But in the front, that was quite a good lateral pop of airtime. Mind you, the train still has insane speed, into a mid-course brake run. This might trim a few miles an hour off your freight train, but you head right back down into another shallow drop, into another great airtime hill, take another janky left turn at what feels like 100 miles an hour, hit some straight track, and then pop into the final brakes. That incline having drive tires for some reason. I can't imagine the train would ever not have enough speed to make it back. And if you're riding Wet Bandit, you get whacked by one last water hose, just in case you already dried off after the first drop. When I rode this, I hadn't ridden Fujiyama yet, so this giant Togo experience was one of a kind for me, and I'm just thinking, this ride is goofy. It doesn't take itself too seriously, from the water cannons to the crazy transitions, the way it seems to hide what's next, and then have it explode on you. Its setting out in the trees helps with that, but those shallow angles serve to hide it, and you're not sure what's at the top of the incline. You're not sure what's around the next corner, and the ride just messes with you. It's like slapping you in the face, and throwing all this garbage at you, and it's like, yeah, you like that? How about this? How do you like that? All the while, because of that terrain, it just keeps picking up speed, and the whole ride feels like a runaway freight train. Surprise elements, jerky transitions, so much speed, good airtime, throwing water at you. By the end, you're laughing at how absurd the ride is, and you want so badly to get back in line. We had so little time at Yomiuriland, I was only able to get 2 rides, but I could honestly lap this all day, it's that much fun. I keep saying this ride does a great job never slowing down, never losing that insane pacing, so I ran the numbers and I found it covers 4,379 feet of prime ride track in 64 seconds. That's 68.4 feet per second. For comparison, if it was an RMC, it would rank 4th overall. Not as good as Goliath at Great America at 72 feet per second, but better than Wildfire at Kilmartin and its countrymate, Hakuge at Nagashima Spa Land. Those run at 66 feet per second. Compared to other hypers, its pacing is almost identical to Superman the Ride at Six Flags New England, and it would almost win as the best paced B&M hyper, just 1 foot per second behind Silver Star at Europa Park. So this pacing is no joke, and for me, that makes the ride what it is. So, does Bandit deserve a spot in my overall top 50? I say absolutely yes, and I slot it at number 41. For context, that's right behind the Beast, kind of a similar coaster on the wooden side, and right ahead of TMNT Shellraiser. It's also 5 spots behind Fujiyama, which is like a supersized Bandit, a ride I would also describe as hilarious. But Bandit seems to troll you more, using water and hidden tricks and terrain and misdirection to mess with you. And after riding 750 coasters, I love to see something that's actually truly different, and that describes Bandit perfectly. Let's go over the pros and cons of the ride. First, the pros, and that is the out-of-control feeling due to the pacing. The jarring transitions add to the wackiness in the ride's character, the fact you can choose the wet side or the dry side. But again, if you want the full Bandit experience, make sure you choose the wet side. It is a very long ride, having more than 5,000 feet of track and over a minute of prime ride time. The ride is just pure fun, and I would even say the locker system is a pro. You get to lock your stuff up before you get into the station. You have the key so you know it's secure. This is not uncommon in Japan, but I still think it's a good system. Now for the cons, starting with the trains. I would love to have some more legroom and for this to have just lap bars, but honestly the over-the-shoulder restraint didn't hurt the ride that much. I think the RMC Raptors are hurt by it way more than Bandit is. Also, the assigned seating sucks, typical for Japan, but leaving all those rows in the back empty just because of the front loading of the train. It would be nice if they just let people take whatever row is available. That being said, because of all those shallow drops, I wonder how much better the back row would be. Normally, the back is best when you have a steep drop and you get whipped over, but that 45-degree first drop, all those hills in the second half are like, what, 25 degrees? I wonder if the back is any better, and maybe the front actually gives you better forces. If you have experience with the back, let me know. The last con is those shallow angles. This has its upside also, and I know it's mostly riding that terrain, so it's not a huge con, but I'm never going to give credit to a ride that has a 45-degree drop. That's 16 degrees more shallow than Goliath, and we all know how I despise that drop. It doesn't even have a water cannon at the bottom, so points for Bandit on that one. Last thing, it's hard to see this ride from the park, especially the second half, going out into that ravine behind the tree line. So if you can get up on the Ferris wheel, do it. You get great views of the entire Bandit layout, plus the whole park, plus the whole mountainous area. Bandit does have pretty good dispatches, and just from that one cycle on the Ferris wheel, I got to record a few trains. Yomiuriland is a very interesting park and I wish I could have spent more time here. They even have a rapids ride themed a cup of noodles. Apparently that's amazing, but I don't do rapids rides, so I'll take their word for it. The least I can do is let you know it's there and to check it out. That's all I have for Bandit. Let me know what you think of this ride. If you've ridden it, do you love it, hate it, somewhere in between? And if not, if you have any questions, thoughts, something that surprised you, sound off in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like, and if you're new here and love coasters, please give me a sub. I want to thank my Patreons. If you want bonus access, bonus content, and have your name listed at the end of each video, check my links below and join. Also, check out my second channel, where I post copyright-free off-ride footage. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.